Trump's name appears in the unredacted Epstein files more than 1 million times, according to Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contained more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago.
So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter.
The United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it.
Found out that President Trump is in the unredacted Epstein files over 1 million times.
Wonder, hello guys, welcome to my new video. Today we are going to discuss about President Donald Trump. Really, he is culprit more than Jeffrey Epstein? For years, it was just a rumor. Now, with millions of pages of the Epstein files finally unsealed, the name Donald Trump is appearing more than almost anyone else. From flight logs on the Lolita Express to explosive new allegations in the Michael Wolff tapes, the world is asking, how much did the president really know? Today, we're diving deep into the unredacted files to separate the political noise from the cold, hard evidence. He called him a terrific guy. He partied with him at Mar-a-Lago. And now, he's the one who signed the law to release the files. But the new Epstein documents contain claims that are more shocking than we ever imagined, including unverified witness accounts and secret emails. Is Donald Trump the culprit, the headlines claim, or is he caught in a web of Epstein's lies? Here are the 5 biggest revelations about Trump found in the latest Epstein data dump. The Epstein files are finally out, and they are a political landmine. While Donald Trump has always maintained he kicked Epstein out decades ago, these newly unsealed documents tell a much more complicated story of a decades-long friendship. We're looking at the flight logs, the 2026 witness testimonies, and the legal reality of what these files actually mean for the 47th president. Let's get into the facts.
I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter, so let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, "this is a good one." Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions, because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted.
You know,
So what we
Estrada,
talking about? Convict
Texas,
some of these
convicted,
perpetrators that
homicide.
rape these women that are
Chairman,
sitting
time
behind you.
Time
that
belongs.
you
Trump's name appears in the unredacted Epstein files more than 1 million times, according to Congressman Jamie Raskin. As some have noted, that's 100 times as often as God is referenced in the Bible.
The Bible is just something very special.
And Trump's Justice Department seems to have been working overtime to remove references to Trump.
I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
Maybe not just yet. Let's take a quick look at the Epstein files by the numbers. 13. The age of one of Trump's accusers, when Trump allegedly forced her to perform an act on a part of his body, and she responded by biting that body part. Less than 24 hours. How long it took for Trump's Justice Department to mysteriously delete that accusation from the published files. After people noticed it had been deleted, and that started to turn into a scandal, they put it back. Also without explanation. And did Epstein have anything to do with this number? His close friend and Trump confidant Steve Bannon seemed to think so. The files include footage from a celebratory film Bannon was making about Epstein, in which he asked,
"Do you think you're the devil himself?"
I don't know. Why would you say that?
3.5 million pages. That's how much of the Epstein files Trump's Justice Department has released, and as much as they say we're ever going to get.
You're talking about pieces of paper that stack from the ground to 2 Eiffel Towers.
But that's still less than 60% of the estimated 6 million pages Trump's Justice Department was legally required to release by December 19th. What are they hiding? Here are some more numbers. Dozens of powerful men revealed in the files to have ties to Epstein. More than $1.4 trillion, the combined net worth of the richest men named in the Epstein files. That's more than the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia. 1,200, the number of women and children the Justice Department estimates Epstein and his co-conspirators victimized. 1, the number of people serving time for those crimes. 0, how many more prosecutions Trump's Justice Department seems to be planning over those crimes.
It is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein.
By the way, that's Todd Blanche, who is now Deputy Attorney General, and previously was Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer in his New York trial. That's right, one of the top people now deciding who, if anyone, will face justice for involvement in Epstein's crimes, previously worked to shield Trump from justice for crimes he was found guilty of. More than 500 Epstein files pages the Trump's Justice Department completely redacted. That is, the whole page blacked out. 43 Epstein survivors Trump's Justice Department accidentally doxed because it was seemingly so busy redacting references to Trump that it forgot to protect some of the only people whose names, faces, and in some cases nude photos should have been redacted. 2012, the year Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick arranged to visit Epstein's island. That's funny because Lutnick had previously claimed he'd ended his friendship with Epstein in 2005. 2012 was also the year Elon Musk asked Epstein if he could come to his island whenever the, quote, wildest party would be. Remember, this was 4 years after Epstein had already pled guilty and served time for doing things to children I can't say without getting this video flagged. 2015 was when Musk and Mark Zuckerberg were photographed dining with Epstein, 7 years after Epstein was a convicted child predator. At least 2,200 times that Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel appears in the Epstein files. Thiel's the tech bro who spent $15 million launching J.D. Vance into politics, and who has openly advocated for ending American democracy in favor of a dictatorship friendly to tech billionaires. Thiel has also complained that America has been in decline ever since women got the right to vote. 3 years. How long Epstein's brother has been waiting for a response from the FBI after he contacted them saying he had reason to believe Trump had ordered the end of his brother's life. 49% of Americans believe Trump is engaged in a cover-up. 0%. The odds I'd lay on Americans taking Trump's advice that we just all need to move on from Epstein.
Nothing to see here, please!
I'm Alan Piper at apiper13 and Piperama. Follow Courier Newsroom to stay on top of this story.
We've just found out that President Trump is in the unredacted Epstein files over 1 million times. He initially appeared in the redacted files over 38,000 times, but now that the representatives have been able to review the unredacted files in their entirety, Representative Jamie Raskin has reported seeing Trump's name over 1 million times. I need you to really take that in, because you genuinely think that the guy is riddled throughout a child sex trafficking ring's files over 1 million times is not guilty? There's also multiple incriminating emails available about Trump's involvement with Epstein as they are trying to actively cover up their relationship. Interesting how there's multiple victim accounts of Trump abusing them in the files, and then there's this email. Trump is the dog who didn't bark. And a victim spent hours at the house with him? And another email about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell using girls from his Mar-a-Lago spot. And yet another email discussing Trump's PR risk on Epstein because of their relationship and possibly having him hang himself if he does not win the presidency. And this is only about a year before he took his first time in office. And I also want you to watch both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell refuse to answer whether or not Trump was involved with minors.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Are you aware of Donald Trump ever engaging in sexual activity with an individual introduced to him by you or Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my 5th Amendment right to silence.
This is genuinely the easiest fucking whodunit I have ever seen in my life, and it is still going over y'all's heads. If y'all want to prove his innocence or watch some pedophiles' heads fucking roll, then maybe we should open a fucking investigation? Around 10 other countries right now have open investigations on officials that have been merely associated with Epstein. Our president is in the files over 1 million times. Where is the investigation?
Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books.
Schools all over the U.S. are canceling Picture Day due to the founder, co-founder, right? Parent company, Epstein files. You don't have to read it. Just know all the pictures they have of children over the years, that shit wasn't just for parents. That shit was a catalog, a magazine. We're not angry enough. We're not angry enough. I'm 30. Realistically, my picture from when I was a kid is probably on someone's hard drive right now. Hypothetically speaking, right? This is for entertainment purposes.
United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the 5th to buy her clemency. Donald Trump is not only named thousands of times in the latest release from the Department of Justice, he is named over 38,000 times in the files that were released 2 weeks ago alone. And we know that that only represents half of the files that the Department of Justice has in its possession, including files that were used for direct investigations of perpetrators, people who committed crimes, people who were co-conspirators in those crimes, and individuals who knew of those crimes. We know that there are multiple administration officials, including Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, who served as the appointee for the Doge efforts in the White House. We know that the Secretary of Navy. We know that Steve Bannon. We know that there are more than 3 dozen associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Donald Trump named in those files.
We went through the hearing as relates to the Clintons. I said, listen, we know that Donald Trump's name is mentioned more.
And what is your message to President Trump in that case?
Same thing. we're going to be on his ass. I mean, you know, it is so, I don't really know where we are in this country. Why are we even having this conversation? The United States is falling apart right now, partially because he's going out and randomly allowing for the killings of people in the middle of the street. But the other part of it is that we have a 34-count convicted felon, and there are people that are still shielding him from any type of accountability as it relates to a child sex trafficking ring. It is time to take the blinders off. Like, I don't understand why we are pretending like any of this is normal. And I think that that is the level of frustration that so many people are bringing, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, specifically to the Epstein file situation. Because right now we know that they were willing to try to throw the Clintons in prison for not showing up, yet they won't even allow us to bring other people into committee who we know are mentioned in these files and mentioned so much more. When we went through the hearing as relates to the Clintons, I said, listen, we know that Donald Trump's name is mentioned more. Bring him in too. Like, I'm not saying that this should be partisan. This should be whoever. I want to be clear about that. This, for the Democrats, this isn't partisanship. This is about right versus wrong.
On the Epstein files released 11 days ago now and still generating new headlines. Among the latest is a document showing that in 2006, President Trump spoke with Palm Beach police about their investigation of Epstein, saying, quote, "Thank goodness you're stopping him." Here's Justice correspondent Scott McFarland.
A newly surfaced record in the Epstein files alleges Trump told a Palm Beach police chief 20 years ago about Epstein, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." And that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, but got the hell out of there. That contradicts Trump's claim he was unaware of Epstein's crimes.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that.
The White House press secretary could not answer if the account was true.
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club.
Thank you, Chairman Moran. Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was also pressed today on his past with Epstein.
We had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife.
Lutnick acknowledged he traveled to Epstein's Island in 2012, despite earlier claims he'd cut ties in 2005.
I don't recall why we did it, but we did.
The relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein has been a subject of intense public interest, especially following the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act in late 2025 and the subsequent release of documents through early 2026. While the files contain numerous mentions of Trump, they primarily detail a social association in the 1990s and early 2000s rather than proving criminal involvement. Epstein's private comments, emails from 2011 released by the House Oversight Committee, show Epstein referring to Trump as the dog that hasn't barked, noting that despite Trump spending time at his home with victims, like Virginia Giuffre, Trump's name had not been linked to any abuse in the media at that time.
Want accountability? Fine. Be fair about it. At least speak honestly about these Democrats involved in these files. Reid Hoffman, Clinton. How about that shit? Everything's a bullshit attack on the Trump administration as if there was never any effort at all. That's bullshit. And again, for the 1,000th time, if you're waiting for me here to be like, oh, look, we're all here. There's no, listen, look, Fokker, check me out here. Eyeballs, listen to me. There are no fucking heroes in this story. You understand? Mistakes are made all the time. All you can do is try to correct them and explain them. And again, don't over-explain them. Just explain what you did and why. There are people who are going to disapprove you. That's okay. It's never comfortable for the person who's disapproved of. However, it's okay. And it's far better than the alternative, which is suppressing people's voices. But there are no heroes in any of these stories. There's just the truth. And now you can see it for yourself. But these liberal media people are full of shit.
Donald Trump's Department of Justice just got caught spying on members of Congress as they reviewed the redacted Epstein files and keeping a record of their search history. So this is a photo that was caught during Pam Bondi's testimony in front of Congress today, where she was asked a bunch of questions about Epstein and she refused to answer every single one of them. But in this photo, you can see there's this interesting graph in her binder. And if you flip it and zoom in, it says Representative Pramila J. Paul's search history, and it includes includes all of the different Epstein documents she reviewed when she was at the Department of Justice looking at the unredacted versions. So they were keeping tabs on Democratic members of Congress as they were trying to find out more about these Epstein files and why the DOJ redacted them. That is insane. So not only are they covering up the Epstein files and protecting the powerful men who did bad things with Epstein, they're also spying on members of Congress who are trying to do their jobs. Also, this was another photo taken today as Attorney General Pam Bondi refused to look at Epstein victims who were standing up and trying to confront her. But this is insane. This should be a big scandal, and you really should share the story everywhere. Every American needs.
Hey everybody, this is a crazy story out of Washington. Attorney General Pam Bondi basically admitted today that she spied on Democratic members of Congress, Republicans too, we assume, who were perusing the Epstein files. By law, Trump had to release all the Epstein files, all 6 million pages. He's only released 3 million. And in order to make it difficult for members of Congress to go through the files, he's holding them on 4 computers that the congressmen have to go to, sit at the computer and try to browse through 3 million pages on a computer. Good luck with that, right? We found out today at the hearing that she was at on Capitol Hill that they were spying on the members of Congress as they were looking at the files to keep track of everything they were looking at. Check this out. This was in Pam Bondi's hands today, the Attorney General. The search history for Jayapal, the member of Congress, Democratic member of Congress, and how she was looking around for the Epstein information. The Trump people are so freaked out about us finding out about what happened with Epstein that they're spying on members of Congress as they're doing their constitutional oversight duty to find out what the hell happened with Epstein. They're spying on them, guys. That's how worried Trump and Pam Bondi are about you and me finding out the truth of who the hell was involved with Epstein. And by the way, if Pam Bondi is doing all of this to stop you and me from understanding what happened with Epstein, who do you think was involved? This is sick stuff.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned 2 names. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No. I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
The President of the United States faces trouble for video of the Obamas and new Epstein files revealed troubling ties. The President of the United States is under trouble after posting a video on Truth Social that showed the Obamas in a deeply offensive way. The video stayed up for 12 hours before being taken down after both Democrats and Republicans slammed it. The White House says it was a mistake, but the damage is already done. And just as that story heats up, new files from the Jeffrey Epstein case have been released, exposing troubling links to Russian officials. Lawmakers are digging into these new documents, and the investigation is far from over. The Epstein case continues to spark outrage, especially as the files reveal connections that could have wide-reaching implications for powerful figures around the world. People are calling for full transparency and accountability as more details come to light. The question now is, how will the U.S. government respond? On top of that, Trump's social media activity has led to intense debates about his influence and the responsibility of public figures. The backlash is forcing many to rethink their support, and the situation is still unfolding. Both of these stories are putting political figures on edge, with citizens demanding answers and action. Washington is buzzing, and these events have only intensified the calls for change. As both stories continue to make waves, it's clear that this isn't just about one post or one case. It's about accountability and the future of leadership in America.
Tonight, new questions about what President Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein's criminal behavior and when. In an FBI document from 2019, a former Palm Beach police chief says Trump was one of the first calls he received when word got out in the mid-2000s that Epstein was being investigated for sex crimes. The police chief, Michael Ryder, telling the FBI in that phone call Trump told him Epstein's behavior was widely known. The FBI stating Donald Trump told Ryder that he threw Epstein out of his club. Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department to tell him, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." The report adds Trump told Ryder that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Trump got the hell out of there. Trump, who was friends with Epstein for over a decade, has repeatedly said he knew nothing at the time about Epstein's crimes. He insists he broke off their relationship when he learned Epstein was luring away young female staffers who worked at Mar-a-Lago, but that he didn't know why.
I don't know really why, but I said if he's taking anybody from Mar-a-Lago, he's hiring or whatever he's doing, I didn't like it, and we threw him out.
Is your money dirty money?
If you live.
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact...
Why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
But you earned it...
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right, that do enormous bad things, and just to make more money. You're a mathematician. We walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from a, what are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No,
I'm the lowest.
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them,
if
I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
himself
said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question. Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember that.
We have some news right now. The President of the United States is desperately trying to tell the American public to move on from the Epstein files, but new files found over the past 24 hours show a much closer relationship, possibly between Epstein and Trump's first White House. On December 25, 2018, Jeffrey Epstein was corresponding with Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary, who said, quote, being asked for 3 names to replace Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin was Donald Trump's first Treasury Secretary. In another email from December 20th, 2016, about 1 month before Donald Trump was sworn into office, Jeffrey Epstein emailed Bill Gates saying, quote, come to visit the island, new administration people visiting, seemingly alluding to the fact that new Trump officials may be visiting an island, or rather Epstein's island, ahead of Trump's inauguration. Now, none of these communications are directly with the president, but we do also know that Epstein was communicating with Steve Bannon during this period, and Bannon was also advising the president. Theoretically, Bannon could have been a conduit between Epstein and the president in a way, but more questions are...
Your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story. I'm so upset about how it's been handled. I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
They're saying that TikTok is completely filtering any post that has Trump, ICE, or the Epstein files in their video. So let's prove that. Let's say if I posted this video talking about these 3 main items, Trump, ICE, and Epstein files, and I'm gonna put them also on, on the, tag, and I'm also going to put them on the screen. We're going to see how many likes and comments, and even if you see this video. So if you see this video, let me know. Comment and tell me I saw it, and I'm from Canada. I'm from New York. So we know, and we prove this. Everybody's telling me that this new application, because it's a new application, it's not a TikTok that we know, is completely full of new rules that only benefits this new administration. That's why he wanted to keep it, but he wanted to control it. Let's see.
President Trump has called on Republicans in Congress to release files related to Jeffrey Epstein. But why the sudden reversal now? For years, he dismissed Democratic efforts as a politically motivated hoax. Well, this measure was already likely to pass the House, and even before Trump's post, some Republicans had signaled they might break ranks with him and House Speaker Mike Johnson to support it. But timing is everything. Even if the House approves, the bill still faces obstacles. It would then need to pass the Senate, which is under no obligation to take it up, before headed to Trump's desk to be signed. But even then, we might not see the full documents. The Justice Department could redact or withhold information that is private. They would also be allowed to withhold any information that could jeopardize ongoing investigations. That's important, particularly given that Trump has said he will ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to look into alleged ties between Epstein and prominent Democrats. For campaigners demanding full disclosure, anything short of a full release is unlikely to be enough. In Washington, that means that this controversy could continue swirling for months.
There is nothing that Donald Trump can do to stop what is coming. It will be drop after drop. It will be leak after leak. It will be release after release of new Epstein photos, videos, emails. There is so much communication that is becoming public. But what might be more damaging is what we're seeing today. These photos, of which there are so many, and they are all so disturbing. These photos of Donald Trump with several women that we will continue to go through were released today as part of a 95,000 plus photo release from the House Oversight Committee, in which you see Donald Trump on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, Donald Trump with pictures of Jeffrey Epstein at parties, Donald Trump with women, their faces redacted at the Jeffrey Epstein party. There are so many images that are just disturbing of Donald Trump and potential victims of Epstein, potential victims of Donald Trump. You also see here this photo of the Trump condom at an Epstein party, presumably. I don't really think that this is accurate if we're talking about size here, but this is the level of relationship that Trump and Epstein had.
At the end of the day, the Epstein files aren't just about one man. They are about a system that allowed a predator to operate in plain sight for decades. Whether you believe the documents clear Donald Trump or implicate him further, one thing is certain: the full story is still being written as more pages are unsealed. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the 2026 document releases. But I want to hear from you. Given everything we've looked at today, do you think the evidence is a smoking gun or just political smoke? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one.